Women's para 400-meter freestyle, and it will include two athletes, including Aurelie Rivard, who we talked about earlier, the many-time world champion and Paralympic champion.
Sabrina Duchenne, 23 years of age, out of the University of Laval. She will have lane number 5. She is an S7 category. Aurelie Rivard is an S10 category. It was her birthday yesterday. She's 27 years of age, now training up in Quebec City. Originally was from the Montreal area. 21 major games gold medals. Wow. Been in 3 Olympic Games, picked up a couple of gold medals in Tokyo a few years ago at the Paralympics in the 100-meter freestyle and the 400-meter freestyle, which is this very race, and she did set a world record.
And that world record, 4:24:08. You wouldn't expect athletes to be chasing world records at this time of the year, but one never knows. Aurelie Rivard on the left wearing the blue. Sabrina Duchenne on the right in the red. And we are underway. 8 lengths of the pool. Women's para 400 free. Again, the 2 categories. S7, that is Duchenne in lane 4, and Rivard, or at least in lane 5, and Rivard is in lane 4, and she's wearing the red, and she is the world record holder in the S10 category.
So the way it works when you have mixed category swimming is there still are different goal times to be able to make and qualify for the Paralympics. So for example, in the S10 for Aurelie Rivard, she must go under 4:47.98. The fact that she was 4:38 this morning means that she's probably going to have no problem reaching that standard. But an S7 category athlete has to go almost a minute slower, 5 minutes and 38 seconds to qualify for the Paralympics. And Duchenne this morning was 5:30.2, so she too was under that required time in the preliminaries, but they're going to try to do it again here in the finals. It's an 8-lap race.
In her world record swim, Aurelie Rivard hit 100 meters in 1:04:04. She is about a second and a half beyond that right now.
And that would be expected because she knows she's going to qualify. She knows her time is easily within the, even her training time would be within that cutoff time. She's so elite. Therefore, she'd be holding back. Duchenne is a little bit closer to that time, so she's probably going to get a little bit closer to her best time. But this Rivard, very good technique, very good stroke. And so this will be like a training workout for her. She'll be saving it all for Paris. That's where she'll be laying it on the line and trying to get back down to her best time.
It's a very different way to prepare for the games, isn't it, Byron? It reminds me of a few years ago when some of the Canadian Olympic swimmers were pre-selected. They could prepare a little bit differently for the games.
Well, and now it's always a discussion. Do you want to prepare different? Do you want to be able to swim through this particular time and have a 6 or 9 month lead up to a games? And in the 90s and early zeros, that was the philosophy of Swim Canada. If you were a medalist from the World Championships the previous year, you'd get quote-unquote a bye onto the team. But nowadays, it's basically one-shot deal. You got to do it at this competition. What you've done in the past doesn't matter a hoot. And we saw that in the women's 200 freestyle able-bodied the other day when Penny Alexiak, who was an Olympic silver medalist, finished 9th in the race. So she so far has not made Canada's Olympic team because she's got to do it today, or this week I should say, and she hasn't done it yet.
So 2:16:32 for Aurelie Rivard halfway through this 400 meters. Again, these athletes racing against the clock, racing against the world rankings in their own discipline. And it's not so much about racing each other, but they would obviously want to, show better than they, a personal best would be dynamite, a lifetime best.
Well, and one of the interesting caveats here is that Canada has allowed 22 spots, according to past results, et cetera, at the Paralympic Games, 15 women and 7 men. So the fact that somebody goes under the standard, if there's more than the 15 women or 7 men, then they have to start world ranking them, and somebody who made it might not go. So you've got to get to that threshold, and then the closer you are or the further you are ahead of that threshold, the better chance you have of being in one of the 15 women and 7 men that are going to advance. This woman, of course, is going to have no problem at all. She was the flag bearer for Canada at the Rio Paralympic Games because of her stellar performances there.
It's 300 meters in 3:26:14. A little off her world record pace, but as Byron mentioned, she is pacing herself for Paris. And you can judge her after the Paris Games and in the second week of September.
Well, she has been the female Paris swimmer of the year for Canada 6 times. That's how dominant this woman has been around the front. She trains up in Quebec City now, I mentioned, with Marc-Andre Pelletier. He's got a very good, strong para fold that he coaches up there. Turning with only 50 meters to go. Sabrina Duchesne going the other way. They'll cross actually right about the middle of the pool. And I did say that the cutoff times are about a minute apart, which makes sense. There you can see Duchesne. Now, Duchesne actually comes from St. Augustine, Quebec, which is way up in northern Quebec by the Newfoundland and Labrador borders. But they do have a training center now, a national center in Montreal. And in Laval, there's a lot of swimmers. That's where Duchesne is. Here comes Rivard.
She went 4:38 this morning. Where's she going to be here? She's going to be quicker by 5 seconds. 4:33.64 for Aurelie Rivard. That's what you want to see. Improvement from the morning swim to the final, and now in the final 50 meters here, Sabrina Duchesne. She hit 350 meters at 4:43.60 this morning. She went 5 minutes and 30.24 seconds. She might be on pace to beat that.
Definitely should be able to get around 5:20, I think, 5:24. Again, another breakthrough, and again, trying to get under that qualifying threshold and get as far under it as you can to make sure you're going to be one of those 15 women. Duchesne was also a 2-time Olympian. She was in Rio, she was in Tokyo, she was 9th in Rio, she was 5th in this very event in Tokyo, so she's moving up and was on a relay that won a medal too.
Again, that standard 5:38, and she is well under it at 5:24.68. Both swimmers around 6 seconds faster than they were in the morning swim. Nicely done for both.
There we saw a nice shot of Aurelie's mom sitting in the stands. Pretty good crowds on the Olympic trials here. My understanding is tomorrow night might even be sold out. Right next to us here in the booth is Radio Canada, and their announcer is Benoit Huot, a 9-time Paralympic gold medalist. There's a happy mom. Nice shoulder rotation. The idea is that if you rotate your shoulder, you're going to get all your shoulder muscles involved in the pull, and that's what you're trying to accomplish. So very nice technique by Aurelie Rivard.
4 minutes, 33.64 seconds for Aurelie Rivard, the 10-time Paralympic medalist and 6-time world champion. Has all but punched her ticket to Paris.
That's right, and recent birthday girl yesterday.
That's right. Well, I would love to hear from Aurelie after that swim. Her second 400-meter freestyle swim of the day had to take just a little bit out of the tank. Aurelie Rivard comes through with a 4:33.64.